And I know, again, this is skipping, forward about a year or so, but when you went back and you talked to that original doctor, I believe, right? And you told him, well, did you think that this could have been a possibility, that it could have been some kind of reaction? And what did he say? He was like, oh, that could have been a possibility. Yeah. But
Yeah,
I didn't consider
yeah.
it.
Much later on, when I was better and when I was writing my book, I decided to confront the doctor who is the main doctor. Um, and and actually, in fairness, halfway through, he did say something. He did notice that I had akathisia, but that was 6 months in. And it wasn't, oh, she's got akathisia, let's get her off all the drugs. It was like, she's got akathisia, let's switch drugs to something else that gives you
Hmm.
akathisia.
But was that the first time you heard that word? So they use that word.
They did use that word. Yeah, I
Mm,
believe that was the first time that I've ever heard that word. But I mean, remember, I was so out of it.
yeah.
Of really, yeah, but I do remember that. Yeah, I mean, I do remember that very moment, that moment, but it just caused him to go, oh, right, okay, let's up the Seroquel and down the, this. And, yeah, it wasn't kind of like, oh my God, she's got akathisia, take her off everything. Just, or, this is an emergency. It was just, let's give her more drugs that give her akathisia, was basically what he did. But yes,
Hmm.
I did confront him, and he did admit that it was a possibility, that it was the drugs that had caused everything.
And I guess what really had saved you in a way was, kind of going back and forth with the story. So eventually you left the private hospital because the private insurance ran out, and at one point, you were at, I guess it's fair to say, your lowest point. Later on, eventually you were taken to a public hospital, and I believe that doctor completely took you off everything cold turkey, right? Because you're going to start fresh.
Yeah. So basically, what happened is there was a whole year at that
Hmm.
private hospital. I wasn't an inpatient all the time. I kept on being let out. But by the time I was initially let out, because they kept me in for 6 weeks initially.
Hmm.
By the time I was out, I was a drug addict or a drug dependent.
Hmm.
So it wasn't. I always knew that it was the drugs that was causing it. I just knew. But then I was let out, and I couldn't get off them. And every time I tried to skip a dose, I would feel, I mean, I felt awful all the time, but I would feel like so awful that it frightened me. And I was then also very scared that if I didn't take the drugs, that then I would be sectioned again. So I was a sort of, I was just trapped. And so in that year, they put me on pretty much every drug that there was. They gave me every diagnosis: bipolar, treatment-resistant depression, psychotic depression, and it was always, oh, we found the answer now. We've just got to, up the quetiapine, down the Prozac, up the all of this stuff, all of these diagnoses. And I remember there was a turning point when I was given olanzapine Zyprexa, and that was it. From then on, I couldn't get out of bed at all. It was like somebody had just taken my mind away. Probably I had less akathisia at that time, but it was a whole different journey.
Hmm.
But over the course of a year, yes, I was given every drug. There was a time when I was on 7 or 8 different drugs. I was
Wow.
tonic. I put on 4 stone, I'm only 8 stone. And I lost everything. I had tardive dyskinesia by the end of it. So I was dribbling, and that was in the medical notes. It wasn't me saying that. That was there in the notes. Katinka has tardive dyskinesia, and when I was let out, I couldn't look after myself. I had to have a carer. The money ran out for that, so I was pounding the streets of London with akathisia some of the time when presumably when the antipsychotics, the sedating of that wore off, the akathisia upped. And so I was in desperation, and I would be walking, pounding the streets of London throughout the night. And then I would do anything just to try and feel better, to try and calm down. So I'd been a teetotaler before, and a keep fit fanatic, but I then started drinking. I'd never really drunk before, but I started on my way back at 4 o'clock in the morning. I was grabbing bottles of whiskey and drinking them just so that I could try and calm down, try and get some sleep. And as well, I've become a chain smoker. I was smoking 70 cigarettes a day, desperately trying to combat the akathisia, the side effects, all of those sorts of things.
Mhm.
So yes, you're right. The thing that saved me, eventually I was finally readmitted into the hospital again after a year. At that point, I'm so ill that I'm on suicide watch. And again, there's now there's signs of psychosis again. It's all in the notes. And then they after 24 hours, they come in and they say, you have to go because the insurance has run out. £50,000 worth of insurance had been spent.
Mm.
So then I'm sent away, and then yes, I end up in a NHS public hospital, and quite bizarrely, they make an extraordinary decision, which is to take me off all of the drugs, and
Which is rare. Yeah.
which is rare and unbelievably foolish as well, unbelievably dangerous to do that. So anyone watching, don't try that at home. I was very lucky to survive. And I only, thank God I was under section and being protected, not understood, but I was protected there from myself, because I was, I was scratching my skin. I would undoubtedly have taken my life if I'd been out and about, because the withdrawal, the suicidal despair, the akathisia of coming off all of those drugs in one lot was indescribable. They didn't understand what was going on because, as we know, people don't understand the power of these drugs at all. They just thought I was being difficult, actually. But I was screaming. I was screaming for 3 weeks.